Hello, I'm Bill Bullard with R-CALF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, starting with the most recent good news for the U.S. cattle industry and working backward, this week the Federal District Court for the District of Minnesota issued an order substantially denying the motion by the nation's Big Four beef packers to dismiss the class action antitrust lawsuit that R-CALF USA filed clear back in April of 2019. Now, the order is not yet public, but the court found that we have plausibly pled that the Big Four packers conspired to suppress the price of fed cattle and increase the price of beef. Now, recall that our complaint alleges that the Big Four beef packers violated the Sherman Antitrust Act by engaging in a price-fixing conspiracy. It also alleges the Big Four violated the Packers and Stockyards Act, as well as the Commodities Exchange Act. So as a result of today's order, our cattle antitrust case will now proceed to discovery, which is where we begin testing our antitrust claims. So that's great news for America's cattle farmers and ranchers. But there's even more good news for our industry. Last week, a bipartisan group of U.S. senators, Republican Senators John Thune and Mike Rounds, both from South Dakota, and Democrat Senators Jon Tester from Montana and Cory Booker from New Jersey, have introduced a bill to reinstate mandatory country of origin labeling, or MCOOL, for beef. The law will take effect 1 year after enactment, but it could be implemented earlier if our U.S. Trade Ambassador and Secretary of Agriculture are able to develop the means of implementing MCOOL in a way that complies with World Trade Organization rules. Now, importantly, if they don't develop such a means and are unable to implement it on their own, the bill says that MCOOL for beef will nevertheless go into effect 12 months after enactment. So that's more great news for both cattle producers and consumers. Now together, the MCOOL bill and Senate Bill 949, the Grassley-Tester bill, known also as the 5014 bill, are the two triage measures we have been fighting for to help restore competition to our cattle and beef industries. Now the MCOOL bill will restore competition for beef at the grocery store, and it will empower consumers to create demand for USA cattle whenever they purchase a beef product that is born, raised, and harvested in the United States of America. Now, the 5014 bill will restore competition for USA cattle by forcing the packers to actually compete for at least 50% of their cattle needs each and every week. Now, together, these bills will help halt the ongoing erosion of competition in our industry. But there's even more good news. Last week, the White House and the Secretary of Agriculture held an historic and unprecedented White House briefing. The briefing was titled, "Addressing Concentration in the Meat Processing Industry to Lower Food Prices for American Families." So when, if ever, has there been an acknowledgement by the White House and the Department of Agriculture stating that the meat packer concentration was a serious American problem? The actual briefing described a choke point in the cattle and beef markets where just 4 beef packers control 85% of the fed cattle market. And the briefing actually accused the big beef packers of pandemic profiteering and stated that the packers are making the highest profits in history, that both consumers and ranchers were being squeezed, and that the packers' record profits are at the expense of both consumers and ranchers. So the actions the White House and Agricultural Secretary said they would take include cracking down on illegal price fixing, enforcing antitrust laws, enforcing the Packers and Stockyards Act, creating more marketplace transparency, and encouraging more packers and more packer capacity, and addressing both the lack of competition and the lack of resiliency in the food supply chain. It doesn't matter what political party you align with. What matters is that the events unfolding today are the very events we've all been asking for decades. These actions will restore the lost competition in our industry. They are important to cattle producers, to consumers, to our economy, and to our nation's food security. They are the right things to do, and we must help bring them to fruition. So please help us by calling each of your members of Congress to tell them to support and quickly pass Senate Bill 949, the Grassley-Tester bill that will revive the dysfunctional fed cattle market. And tell them to support and quickly pass the Thune, Tester, Rounds, Booker bill that restores mandatory country of origin labeling for beef that will inform consumers as to who produced their beef. And keep calling your members of Congress each and every week until both of these measures are passed into law. So to learn more and to help us win back your U.S. cattle and beef market, visit our website at r-calfusa.com to join with us. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.